Hello, thank you for joining me today. For the necklace that we're going to make, we need a bezel. I sell this one in my Etsy shop, secretsolacepsupplies.etsy.com, but you don't need this specific bezel. We just need something that has an opening on both sides, one at the bottom and one at the top. I have a key charm, a lobster claw clasp. I have different size jump rings. I have an 8mm rondelle crystal. You can use any bead that you want. I have a head pin that has a ball on the end. And the reason why I'm using this one is because that's what I have. It could be any head pin. This one I believe is stainless steel. I have some chain. Any chain will work. I have some black clay. I have mica powders, but I'm not sure if I'm going to use them. If you do want to use them and you don't have them, you can use eyeshadow. I have a round nose plier. I have a couple of chain nose pliers. I have my cutters, which are now rusty after being left outside because I'm an idiot. And then I couldn't find my craft knife, so I'm just using a regular razor knife. And I think that is all we are going to use today. So gather your supplies and we'll get started. Okay, to start out with, I am going to squish my clay. I just have a small piece of it here, and I'm going to squish it pretty thin because it's going inside of this bezel, and it's not a very deep bezel. So I am going to squish it fairly thin. Now you could use your pasta machine, but I just didn't see where it would be necessary to drag that out for such a small project. So I guess that's fairly thin. So now we're just going to take our bezel, turn it upside down, and press it into the clay so that we have an impression for a guide to cut around. And it's not going to be perfect. We'll just shape it as we go. This is cumbersome with this big knife, but bear with me here. I'm going to cut inside of that circle. I'm not going to cut right on the impression. Crazy big box cutter. I'm just trying to get an idea of a circle because we're going to press this into our bezel, and it's not going to make any difference how hideous it looks, which is good for me. There's our circle. So let's place it into our bezel, and we will be smoothing this. And the reason why I used to just press it into the bezel and leave it at that, but some of these bezels do not make it through the baking process very well. So now I try to get the shape and size that I need and then take it back out for baking. Now, let's lift this back up. Again, I am not worried about getting it distorted or out of its circle shape. Right now, I am just concerned about the size that I'm going to have to work with to make my rose. Okay, so next up we will make the rose. Now I have this leftover clay from when we made the center, and I'm just going to roll it into a snake shape. Actually, you don't have to, but this is the way I start anyway. And now we're just going to pull off. We're going to be making a really small rose. So I'm just going to pull off some little bitty pieces of this clay. And I never know how many petals I'm going to end up using, so I usually just make sure I have a large amount of them. So each of these, what I'm going to do with each of these is I'm just going to make it into a little ball, and then I'm just going to squish them flat. And once I get a bunch of them done, I will come back. Alright, here are all my little squished balls of clay. And as you can see, none of them are a perfect circle. They're all different sizes, different shapes, and none of that matters for this project. I've been making these roses for years and years, and it just has never been an issue. So let's start out by getting one of the smaller ones, and we're going to just roll it on itself. Stick into my finger. Roll it on itself to create the little closed bud section of the rose, I guess it is. And now the center of our next petal will go over the seam of where we stopped with this section. And just take our petal down a little bit on its edge. Now, right where this one ended is where the center of our next petal will go. And we're just going to repeat that process over and over until the rose is the shape and the size that we want. And once I get mine to that point, I will come back and we will move on and make our necklace. Alright, I have completed my rose. It's pretty much the shape and size that I want. So let's sit this down, bring back our kind of circle, and let's finalize the shape and size by placing our bezel on top, getting a little tiny bit of an impression here. And I forgot to say that we're going to need a heavy glue to glue this into our bezel. I'm going to use E6000, but you use the glue that you prefer. Now I'm going to rough this up a little bit. You could use liquid clay to put these together if you want. I tend to just rough mine up a little. Now let's get our rose back. And I am going to slice it at the bottom so that it sits closer to the bezel. Now we are going to have some distortion on our rose when we turn it over, but we will just fix it. we'll rough this up a tiny bit. I'm going to turn our rose over and place it where we want it on our little circle. I'm going to go in with my knife and just kind of drag a bit of the clay at the bottom of the rose onto my circle to make sure I have it down nice and tight. No issues with this coming up. Now once we bake it, it's baked. So you have to make sure that it's exactly the way you want it before it goes in that oven. I'm pretty satisfied with that. So we'll take this and bake it. So while this is baking, we will move on with our necklace. So I'll just throw this in the oven and I'll be back. Alright, the rose is sitting comfortably in the oven. So we're going to move on. I'm going to take my crystal and my head pin, or ball head pin, I'm not sure what you call it. And I'm going to place it on here. Now I am going to bend my wire, readjust my pliers, bring the wire over. Wow, this is really a tough pin. Goodness. Okay. Now I'm going to open this up. Place it on this bottom loop. And I'm going to try to make a wrap loop with this seriously stiff wire. So I've closed up my loop. Now I'm just going to wrap this around. Guess I'll hold it with the round nose since it's smaller and less likely to get in my way. Okay, well, we're going to give this a shot. Goodness. Yeah, this is not fun at all. Alright, I'm going to leave it at that. Take my handy dandy rusty cutters and trim this section off. I don't even know if I can cut it. Okay. I'm going to try to cut that shorter so I have less that I have to squish down. Don't know if I can or not, but let's give it a shot. Well, it doesn't look like it's going to go too much closer. this bead out of the way. I don't think that's helping much, but anyway. Try to squish this down best I can. Okay, I got it squished. So this is what we have so far. Now I'm going to get my chain. And I want to connect my chain to each side of my bezel. So I'm going to get a small jump ring. Because this is going to add length. So I want to put my jump ring on to give me a better idea of how long I want to make that chain. So let's open up my jump ring. And I'm just going to put it in this little circle on the side here, this little opening in the bezel, and then I'm going to place my chain on the jump ring, and then we'll go from there as far as how long we want our chain to be. I don't want it tremendously long. I'm going to be hanging the key from it, so I don't really want it to drape too far. The key is going to add length as well. So let's go ahead and close this up. Having a hard time seeing. It's kind of overcast today. So I'm probably going to need to put this in better light off camera and fix it once I get it made. So that gives us a bit of an idea about where we want to drape this chain. And for me, I think that's okay. I'll cut it a little bit further down, keeping in mind that I have that jump ring going on there. Okay. So just get your smaller jump ring and connect your chain to this other side opening. I'm going to move mine to better light and then I will be back with you. Okay, I have attached my chain to both sides, and then I used another small jump ring to attach the key. Now, I didn't put this through a link, I just put it in the actual loop of the chain so that it has some movement. And now, I'm just cutting a piece of chain for the necklace portion. You can cut this whatever length you want. Okay. Now I'm going to use my larger jump rings to attach my clasp and my jump rings. So for our first side, I'm just going to open up a jump ring, put it through that last link of the chain, close it back up. Now for the other side, we are going to place a jump ring and our clasp. So let's put the jump ring onto the chain. Sorry about this. It's just so dark in this area that I'm working from. And let's just drop our lobster claw clasp, or any clasp that you want. Okay. There we are. Now, we need another jump ring. Place a jump ring on there. And then let's place on our bezel. Close this ring back up. So now, all we need is our rose. I'll grab that out of the oven and we'll put that in and then we'll be done. Okay, I have my rose baked and ready to go. Now, if it looks different to you than the one that I started with, that's because it is. This is my first one. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but I did not center the rose properly. So no matter how I put it in the bezel, it's just wonky. So I made another rose. Now, of course, I can't find my E6000 right now. So I'm going to use hot glue. Please don't use hot glue. But this will just peel right off when I find my glue. I'll just peel it right back off and put it on with E6000. So let's get this straight, press it down. Yeah, hot glue is not going to work very well. Let's just press this down into our bezel. Let's try this again. Press it in there. And there we go. We are all done. We have a pretty, I don't know, to me it looks Victorian. It also has maybe a bit of goth to it. So I do hope that you will make one of these necklaces. And of course, you could just put a cabochon in your bezel. You could put a picture in your bezel and then cover it with resin. You could make a rose a different color. It doesn't have to be black. So I do hope you'll give this a try, and thank you so much for watching.